Hi everyone, my name is Yobel Balamu.
Hello everyone, my name is Kelvin Loho and I'm going to explain my part in religion in Australia. My part is Buddhist.
Hi,
my name is Mersy Widyayana.
Okay, for the introduction of the religions in Australia, I would like to tell you that Australia is a multicultural country with a diverse range of religions practiced by its citizens. The major religions in Australia are Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and the minor are Hinduism, Judaism, and Sikhism. And let's move to the first religions, which is the largest religions in Australia. Christianity. Christianity is the largest religion in Australia, with approximately 52% of the population identifying as Christian. The majority of Christians in Australia are either Catholic or Anglican, but there are also many other Christian denominations present, including Baptist, Presbyterian and Reformed, and Pentecostal. Christianity has a long history in Australia, and now we are going to talk about the brief history of it. Dating back to the arrival of European settlers in 1788, the predominant form of Christianity in Australia is Protestantism, with the Catholic Church being the largest denomination. The first Christian service in Australia was held on 3rd February 1788, just a few days after the arrival of First Fleet, by the chaplain of the fleet, the Rev. Richard Johnson. Since then, Christianity has played a significant role in shaping Australian culture, society, and politics. During the 19th century, various Christian denominations established missions and schools, and played a role in the establishment of Australian Federation in 1901. In the mid-20th century, Christianity was a dominant force in Australian society, with churches playing a central role in community life. However, like in many Western countries, the role of Christianity in Australian society has diminished in recent decades, with declining church attendance and increasing number of people identifying as non-religious or adherents of other faiths. But today, Christianity remains a significant presence in Australia, with around 52% of Australians identifying as Christian, according to the 2016 census. The Catholic Church remains the largest denomination, followed by the Anglican. And now I'm going to give you some interesting facts about Christianity in Australia. The Catholic Church is the largest Christian denomination in Australia, with around 22% of the population identifying as Catholic. The Anglican Church is the second largest Christian denomination in Australia, with around 13% of the population identifying as Anglican.
The Uniting Church is the third largest Christian denomination in Australia and the first church to be created in and of Australia. The Uniting Church beliefs are drawn from the Bible and from the Apostles and Nicene Creeds.
Many of Australia's most famous landmarks and institutions have a Christian heritage, such as St. Mary's Cathedral in Sydney, which is the largest Catholic church in Australia, and the University of Sydney, which was founded by the Anglican Church. And that's it for the Christianity in Australia, and let's move on to the next religion.
Islam in Australia is a minority religious affiliation. According to the 2021 census in Australia, the number of people who self-identified as Muslims in Australia from all forms of Islam constitute 813,392 people, or 3.2% of the total Australian population. According to the 2016 census, 42% live in Greater Sydney, 31% in Greater Melbourne, and 8% in Greater Perth. The states and territories with the highest proportion of Muslims are New South Wales, 3.58%, and Victoria, 3.32%, whereas those with the lowest are Queensland, 0.95%, and Tasmania, 0.49%. History of Islam in Australia. Islam's introduction to Australia predates European colonization through wave of contact and settlement, including Macassan interaction with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples along the northern coast, Muslim sailors, convicts, and settlers arriving with European colonization. The opening of the interior aided by Muslim Afghan cameliers, settlement of Muslim migrants in the 20th century, and an influx of Muslim refugees arriving from various parts of the globe. For many, the settlement of Islam and Muslims positively contributes to Australian society's multicultural and multi-religious nature. However, it has sparked questions about Australian identity and values for others. The most pervasive meme in the discourse about Islam in Australia is that a monolithic religion is adhered to by a homogeneous group of Muslims. At the broadest level, a nebulous concept of a Muslim community exists. Yet, Muslims in Australia belong to a diverse range of ancestry groups, language groups, cultures, theological and religion legal denomination, sex, classes, political orientations, and other sociological divisions.
And I'm going to explain my part in religion in Australia. My part is Buddhist. According to the Australia Bureau of Statistics, there are nearly 500,000 Buddhists in Australia, and this number is growing rapidly, doubling between 1996 and 26. Broadly speaking, at least 3/4 of Australia Buddhists are what can be called Eastern Buddhists. In regards to interfaith relations, there is generally much goodwill from other religions toward Buddhists. This stems from the perception that Buddhists are generally peaceful and non-threatening. To the newcomer, the different types of Buddhist practice may look inconsistent. Buddhist practice can involve daily chanting and prayers, regular visits to temples to make food offerings to monks and nuns, the occasional meditation retreat, or even participating in social or community activities. That's my part. Thank you.
The next is Judaism. Judaism is a minority religion in Australia. Judaism is the religion and the way of life of the Jewish people. It is the oldest of the monotheistic faiths in the Abrahamic tradition, which include Christianity and Islam. The central principle of the monotheistic faith is the belief in the one God, the all-knowing, all-powerful, and ever-present creator of the universe. The next is history of Judaism. The history of Judaism cannot be separated from the history of the Jewish people. Over the centuries, the Jewish people have been dispersed throughout the world, albeit still having a profound influence on humanity and civilization. Early records indicate that approximately 1,600 Jews settled in Australia between the arrival of the first fleet in 1788 and the gold rush of 1851. Jews lived in Western Australia from the early 1820s, although it was not until 1887 in Fremantle that the first Jewish community was formed. The Perth Hebrew Congregation was founded in 1892 and opened its synagogue in 1897. Synagogues were also built in the gold rush towns of Kalgoorlie and Coolgardie, the major Jewish centers in Australia in Melbourne and Sydney, although there is a significant Jewish population in Perth. According to the 2016 census, approximately 5,425 Jews live in Western Australia, representing a decrease of 7.7% compared with the 2011 census. They lived mainly in the metropolitan area and originated from Australia, South Africa, and United Kingdom and Israel. Between the 2011 and 2016 census, the number of people affiliated with Judaism in Australia decreased by 6,313 to 2023, a decrease of 6.4%. Next is religious festival and the days of significance. Sabbath. The Sabbath is the best non-religious observance where Orthodox Jews undertake no secular activities from sunset on Friday to after dark on Saturday. For many Jews, the Sabbath is meaningful and may be celebrated through family gatherings, quiet reflection, prayer, and communal activities. Jewish people may choose not to attend community functions held on the Sabbath if they conflict with personal practices. These holidays are celebrated on the same day of the Jewish calendar every year. The Jewish year follows a lunar calendar and the year is not the same length as a solar year on the Gregorian calendar used by most of the Western world, so the dates vary each year. In the Jewish calendar, a day begins and ends at the sunset rather than at midnight, so that all Jewish holidays begin on the evening before the date specified. The eighth-day festival is Passover, falls each year in March or April and involves a family or community gathering known as a Seder to commemorate the exodus of Jews from Egypt and liberation from slavery in 1476 BCE, the seminal event in the history of the Jewish people. The Jewish festival is celebrated widely as a cultural tradition as well as a religious observance. An important observance is the days of Way period or falling in September or October, starting with the New Year, Rosh Hashanah, commemorating God's creating on the world, accompanied by individual reflection on the past year and the need for redemption, and ending with the first day of the Day of Atonement 10 days later. To the 2 days of Pentecost in May or June, the first two and last 2 days of the eighth-day festival of Tabernacles or Sukkot, usually in October, or other religious festival which may be observed by Jews in diverse way. It should not be assumed that just people celebrate Christmas or Easter. Many find it uncomfortable or insulting to be asked repeatedly what they are doing for Christmas. It is unfortunate that in the mainstream Australian community, many assume that everyone celebrates Christmas, although it is a Christian festival. Chanukah or Hanukkah, are also known as the Festival of Light, is an annual Jewish festival celebrated on 8 successive days in December on the Gregorian calendar. This festival of religious freedom and national survival commemorates the victory of the Jews, Maccabees, over the Hellenist Syrians and the rededication of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem in 165.